a scooter here. This is the E100 and it has a bad throttle controller. We're going to open this up with our Phillips screwdriver. So there are 6 screws on the deck. We got the first one off, working on the second one. All right, third. Fourth screw. And there are 2 in the back as well, right there. So 5th screw. And the 6th screw, last screw. Okay, go ahead and lift the deck off. So what you see is our scooter is already all stripped out. There's a charging port, and then that's for the brakes. So what I did was, our old throttle controller was bad, the factory one. So I removed everything out of there. So it's pretty much gutted right now. We're gonna use this little automotive relay. It's a 12-volt relay. And here's the part number, G8HL-H71. And this came off of our Acura, but here's how it's wired up. You'll see ground, negative, switch input, 12 volt, and the 12 volt output. Here's the wire to the motor. That's the factory hub motor. And it's just basically a 24 volt motor, but we're going to push 20 volts on it. And we're gonna wire up this relay. Here's the throttle we're going to use on this build. So basically this is the factory one that came off of this scooter. I also have a smaller throttle where it's just a push button, and that's from the E90 scooter, which is a smaller version, the 12 volt version. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall this one. Went ahead and laid the scooter down so then we can install the throttle. So this slides over it, and we're just kind of seeing where we're gonna route the wiring back on there. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put on the factory grip. This is the foam grip that initially came with the scooter. And I'm having issues with it. It's not going down too easily. All right, so that's not gonna work. I need to put some lubricant on it. So either lotion, oil, soap, something. All right, so I grabbed some hand soap, just some basically hand soap or dishwashing soap would work. Lubricate it a little bit, and then it slides right down. All right, these are one of my least favorite things to do, is removing grips and replacing grips. But there, we got it lined up. And then when the soap dries, it's gonna fit pretty well on there, and it shouldn't shift at all. Grab my Allen wrench and tighten the screw. So first I want to loosen it, and then I'll slide it up to where it butts up against the foam grip, and then tighten it. Good. It needs to be a little tighter. It was twisting a little bit. We'll lift up the scooter and put the kickstand down so it stands up. All right, well, now I need to reattach this wire. So this is the throttle cable. Untwist the twist tie thing. I guess it's I don't really know what those are called, wire covers. But you just twist it around and it holds it all together. All right, so now we need to feed the connector through the little slot right there. So I'm gonna have to unscrew this little clip. This is like a harness holder bracket. There's 2 Phillips screws. All right, so once you unscrew that, it frees up. Then you lift up this little cover. Now there's a big enough hole so you can insert the connector through. There, so we just fed the connector through. And right here, there's also a rubber grommet right there. Here, I'll pull it out. Oh, here's the rubber grommet, and there's already like a little slit right there. So then you put your wires through it. There we go. And then you slide it back onto that little plastic connector where you removed it from. Once you get the rubber grommet back in, so we're still trying to line it up, okay. And then now you put that little plastic sliding cover back on and press it down firmly. All right, well, that's what it looks like close up. We still need to put our bracket back on there that holds the 2 wires, keep it from shifting. And there's 2 Phillips screws. Sorry, my hands are blocking the view a little bit, but you just replace it to where it was at earlier. Okay, 1 screw is on. Here's the 2nd screw. All right, make sure the other one's tight as well. And don't go too tight because it's going into plastic. You'll just strip it if you put too much torque into it. All right, since we're converting this to a 12 volt, I'm just gonna use 1 12 volt battery. The other battery is bad, so I only have 1 battery left. But we'll just run it on 12 volts so the kids can still play with it. It's gonna be a little slower, but I'm gonna go ahead and wire it up. And this is basically the cheapest way you can get this scooter running again without buying another throttle controller if you have a bad throttle controller and 1 bad battery. So we have 1 good battery. We have a relay that's really cheap. I'm going to add all the links down below so you can purchase the same cheap items to get your scooter working. But we'll go ahead and connect this. So this is the throttle switch. So the throttle connector is the one with the 4 wires coming from it. So we have 2 wires coming from the throttle and then 2 wires going into the relay. I'm going to use one of these butt connectors. All right, and then we connect it to the wire coming from our relay. So this is going to be the 12 volt switch. So anytime the kids hit the throttle, it'll give power coming through to the relay. All right, so this one will be our ground wire. That's going to go into the battery ground. So this throttle wire right here is going to go to positive. So it's going to combine to the positive on the battery. And this is the power for the relay. That's 12 volt constant power straight from to the battery. So that's kind of in the middle right there. And I'm using these connectors with the rubber, so then they don't touch each other ever, even with vibration. We don't want to cause like a short circuit or anything. So that's probably how I'm going to set it up, is the throttle wire is positive, going to the positive constant, and then ground wire to the battery. Here's the wires for the motor. Okay, so I have this connector from the old throttle controller. I'm going to hook it up, and you see there's blue and yellow. So yellow will be positive, and blue will be negative. So the blue can go directly to the battery right there. And yellow will go to the positive switched on the relay. But I'm going to go ahead and test it to see if the rotation is correct or not. If the rotation is wrong, then you can switch the yellow and blue wire. If you flip it, then it would rotate the motor the opposite direction. And good. So it's spinning the correct way. All right, so then that yellow has to go to our positive switch from our relay. So this yellow wire that goes to our motor needs to connect to the relay. So I'm going to put a little female connector on there and then attach it to a relay for the switched output. Yeah, we'll go ahead and use this. Okay, let's go ahead and plug that into our positive switched relay. So this connector is a little small. I'm going to use our flathead and then basically stretch it out a little bit so it fits on our connector a little better. There we go. So it's a little loose. Now I'm going to have to tighten it. So I'm just squeezing the sides a little bit, make it a little more snug. Okay, it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and squeeze it a little down too, for good measure. There we go. Okay, so anytime I have an exposed connector like this, I like to wrap it up with electrical tape. I don't want it to accidentally ground out or touch a wire that it shouldn't touch. So I just grab a little piece of electrical tape and then I wrap it around a few times. Yeah, I just want to make sure nothing else touches it. There's a lot of vibration with these scooters, so you don't want wires bouncing all over the place. I'm just using the screwdriver to help push the tape through so it adheres all the way. All right, so all the wires are protected. So now I'm second thinking how I should connect the rest of the wires. Some of these connectors might have to come back off. So these ground wires, I'm going to have to connect it together. And then those positive wires will go together. All right, before I want to finish off the connections, I want to test it to make sure these are the exact wiring that I want to do. So I'm just going to place that wire into there and then slide the connector over it as a temporary test. There we go. It just needs to hold still for a little bit until we test and we know everything is working correctly. So right now, nothing is going through the power switch, and that might be an issue for the kids. They yeah, they need access to the power switch to turn off and on the scooter. Let's go ahead and test it just to make sure that's working. Perfect. All right, so right now it's just staying on. So if we want to use our power switch, go ahead and take this positive off. Click this positive to your power switch down here. Right here, there's a power switch. So I hooked it up to the middle, and then from the bottom will be the other wire. Alright, so I have some extra wiring. Your factory wiring should work for you if you still have it in there. This one, I just got it all out, so I didn't have any wires in here. Right. And this is about the same gauge wire. Making little quick connectors real fast. We're not going to connect the other side yet. Let's go ahead and connect this bottom to the switch. Here, I'll move that down. Let's move this one. Okay. This one will go to the positive. And then now we can use our factory switch again. We're not going to use the lighting on it. Okay, so that works. Let's see. I'm gonna move this down. So what we'll have to do is this. So positive. That won't work. All right, so we're gonna switch this. Let's cut this off. Use a different connector. So these two will have to go together. Or these three have to go together. These are the throttle wires. All right, throttle wires will go into that switch. So we're putting this in the middle. Or here, let's put it on the bottom switch. Pull that out so we can see. All right. So this one's mounted to the bottom. This one will go directly to the battery. This is the middle. Will go directly to the battery. So now we shouldn't get any power in the throttle. Then when you turn this switch on, it'll give power. There we go. You can hear it clicking. So now our power switch is plugged in. If we added a negative to this, the light will work again. I'm gonna go ahead and do it just to make sure everything works well. All right, so we're not gonna use the factory charger right here, so I don't even want to I don't want to connect that. We will add this negative. We'll have to do that. So I'm making another connection.
He's like looking at me like, why aren't you talking to me?
So this will go onto the top. And so even before sliding that on, I'm gonna tape it there. Give it some type of insulation between the two. Okay, so let's see. Let's test our light to see if it works. So it'll be like this. The light works. All right. So positive, negative, negative, and negative. All three of these need to go into one. So we'll snap these off and connect it all. All right, connect all three of these into one connector. That's a lot of wires. So I don't have the correct wire connectors to combine all these. So we're gonna custom fit. Here, let's make this work with what we have. So I'm gonna connect these two together. And this one will go on the other side with another wire that leads to the battery. So we're gonna cut another piece. All right, so what we'll do is connect these two together. Like that. Okay, and then now we're left with one negative and one positive. So these two should connect to the battery. I'm still not ready to permanently attach it, which is still testing. There. So now the power button turns on. There, it's lit up. You should be able to give throttle. There. So it's working without any throttle controller. All we're using is a little relay we have. I'm doing some sketchy stuff.
You look like you're building a bomb.
All those wires everywhere. But, okay, so I don't have the correct battery for this scooter, but we're just gonna go ahead and use this one. So I'm gonna finish off this installation. If you're keeping both of your factory batteries without the throttle controller, you can keep the battery charger connected. So basically the red will go into your positive wire for your batteries and black will be in the negative, and you can use the factory charger. So then you don't have to bypass this switch that I made. Let me know if you have any issues or questions. All right, so this goes into negative. Turn it around. So we just want to tuck everything away like that. Make sure it's pretty secure. No more throttle controller. Now we're just using that relay. And the power switch still works. Give throttle. Alright, good to go. Let's test it out. Okay, go ahead. Turn it on. Is the light on? Yeah. Okay. Alright, we got it working again. It's only 12 volts. There. So it's slower than the 24 volt, but at least it gets the kids going on it again. I'm gonna upgrade it to 24 volts again.